Welcome back, it's Noan Renard with the UCL IXN ToukanLabs project. Today I'm going to talk a bit about the roadblocks I've had to face in this project. I think this is a crucial step of trying to explain and understand the whole process of this project because it gives a lot of context to what's going on, as many of the decisions that I've taken so far and probably going to be taken in the future derive from these limitations. So, the constraints we've had stem from a lot of things. So first of all, when the project started in August, that was when the first communication between all the parties was established, and through regular talks, once the turn time started in September, we were able to have a basis for a scope, a project, some deliverables in October. We determined that the first step of the project was to try and get the data. So the data would be from the hospital, the one we're partnered with, and as long as when we started off trying to get the data, we discovered that's a very long and tedious procedure, especially with all the whole administrative side. There's a lot of documents, etc. And going through the NHS, there's a lot of ethical concerns. So that was already a major roadblock in time because all the paperwork, the approvals, the signatures took a very long time, and the ethical concern for it. And at some point, the hospital asked for a UCL ethical review, which at this point we knew there was a misunderstanding because as I'm technically part of ToukanLab, I am an industry partner with them, and ToukanLab should have done the paperwork and got me the data. But this was fixed very quickly with the communication, and I quickly got in contact with hospital clinicians to get the data. And here's where the second problem comes, that we learned here that the data and all their computing resources, their supercomputers, and their whole intranet is only available local on site for this hospital. And this is a problem because physically, this hospital is hours away from the university, from where I live, and especially with the current pandemic going on, going to work far away into a remote location, especially in the medical field, is very risque. So as a result, it's not really possible, and all the data and the computing resources needed to start this project or continue work with this project are unavailable. And finally, the code base we're working on, the HoloRepository, the one we're enhancing, is known has some bugs and design inconsistencies. For example, it's not platform agnostic. You need a specific version of CUDA. You need some specific graphic cards, and all this could hinder the implementation. So we clearly have lots of constraints, and why are we bringing them out? Why are we so adamant about it? So I wanted to go forward and try and find the problems we're going to have, and some of them we just encounter naturally, because instead of finding these problems a week down the line, 2 weeks down the line, at the end of the project, I think it's much better if proactively we seek out these problems and try and find solutions. I'm going to show how these constraints were nullified by the solutions we took. So, first of all, for the dataset problem, um, I've gone through a long searching and testing validation phase for finding public data sets as a replacement. So, data sets to train any machine learning models, to do machine learning segmentation. The attached photo is the Duke data set for OCT segmentation, which is very complete. So, a lot of work is being done on the dataset side to try and find a very cohesive one. Next up, as we don't have access to any training facilities, any very powerful computers, and my computer is not powerful enough to do all of this. Um, Training for machine learning models becomes a whole lot more complicated. As a result, I've been looking into using pre-trained models, as that circumvents this whole problem. And not other problems stem from this because the state-of-the-art pre-trained models I found are quite archaic, and they're using deprecated versions of some machine learning frameworks, which is unfortunate, but we can work around that. Um, Next up, for the on location, working remotely, doing frequent communications, calls, emails with everybody to making sure everyone's on the same page is paramount, I think, to the success, because without being able to do in-person meetings, the least we can do is try and communicate as much as possible. And finally, software engineering, revamping the code base for the HoloRepository, maybe upgrading the firmware, the dependencies. There's definitely work to be done there, and this would not only improve this implementation of the project, but any future iterations of it.